Hello, hello. Welcome to this week's Women, Words and Wine. This is Suzi. I hope you've had a great week. Really looking forward to catching up with you here today. I've got an amazing guest who I'm going to be bringing on in just a moment. She's on the other side of the world where it's actually still morning, so I'm not sure if she's going to have a glass of wine in hand for Women, Words and Wine. But as you're joining me, please go ahead and say hi. I'm just going to open up my other window here so I can see you. How's your week been? Oh, goodness. I've got two computers going off. Here we go. Silence. Stop. Oh, my goodness. All right. I can see there's a bunch of you here. Tell me where you're joining me from. Tell me if you're having a glass of wine, what it is that you are having. I'm going to get my helper here. Can I get you to please, on this device here, go to here and log me into the Facebook post so I can see people's comments, and I can see we've still got people here arriving. So I'm going to quickly introduce you. Hey, Liz, you've been looking forward to this. Oh, great. Okay, I'll just say what Liz does, just because our guest, who I know is in the background here waiting to come on, Liz works with executive assistants in corporations to help them become indispensable in their industries. And I know because our guest works with lots of corporates, she might have some insights for you. Hello, Kylie Marks. I was just talking about you today, actually. Hey, Prue. Prue's here from balmy Queensland. Wine in hand, candles on. Send us some Zen, Prue. And Liz is here with a junior her business fan, her 13-year-old daughter. Great. Thank you so much. What's her name, Liz? And Emma says, hi from Brisbane, celebrating the sale of my house with a glass of champers. Oh, great. Thank you so much for being here. So my guest today is Jodie Rogers. We met in Canada. We actually met in Canada because we were both part of Stu McLaren's Impact Mastermind program, which those of you who are members know that is a program that I've been a part of now for 3 years. So we met in Canada. She's Irish. She's in Spain. That's where she lives. And I'm here in Australia, and you're joining me from all over Australia. And for nearly 20 years, her business has been to really understand what makes people tick and to help companies create amazing, emotionally intelligent teams and to be really effective in the delivery of what the company does by making sure that the team is really strong. She is a whiz at what makes us tick. And so she's going to give us a few insights on how we can navigate what's happening to us right now, as it relates to the emotions we might be feeling as we're going through a bunch of changes. She's worked with big organizations. As I said, she works with big corporates, people like L'Oreal, Barclays, Unilever. She's usually flying, to the UK mainly to work with clients. Of course, now she's been in Spain. She's going to tell us a little bit about that. Let's bring her on so that I can stop talking and we can hear her. Hey.
Hello. How are you, Suzi?
Hello, I'm doing great. Now, I want to check. Can you see the comments that are coming through here on the app?
No.
No, you cannot.
No, but what I have done is we're having some technology hitches. Everything is green, but I have set up Facebook on my phone, so I'm looking there as well at the...
Oh, great. Well, you'll be able to see the comments there because I've done the same thing here just as a backup. Okay. So Lynn is here. Hey. Aparna is here. She said she's had a stressful week with JobKeeper. JobKeeper is one of the initiatives that our government has done to help us keep people in jobs. So having a whiskey shot, I need this so much, she says. Okay. All right. My guest has now walked away from her computer. All right, she's back. What are you drinking? Because I know it's early there.
Coffee.
Cup of coffee. PJ's laughing in the background. We're going to pretend it's coffee. Okay.
I wish it was an Irish coffee. I should really put a wee whiskey in here. So
you're going to have to tune your ears to her Irish accent. So before we get started on our, we're going to be doing some things that have made us laugh. We're going to have some great tips around emotional intelligence and navigating the times right now from Jodie, and then we will leave you with some inspiration. But before we get started, tell us how it's been for you, how it's been, one, to be living in Spain, two, to be in a business that has you usually traveling, and bring us up to speed on how life's been for you.
Yeah, it's I'll be honest, it's not been easy, and at moments it's been amazing. Like, there's a real paradox in this experience, I think. Being in Spain, we've had one of the toughest lockdown situations where for the first 45 days, children were not allowed outside. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And we're in an apartment. Thankfully, we have a terrace, so we have some outside space. But that in itself has just been a massive challenge. If you had said to me and my husband that we had to spend one full weekend indoors with the children, we would have said, no, impossible. And here we are 50 days later.
Wow. So you did it 45 days, kids not leaving the apartment.
Yeah, they did not step outside the front door because they weren't allowed.
Did they settle into that, or how did that work?
They are the most adaptable of all of us, really. We don't give children enough credit because if you think about it, they really don't have much control over their day, do they? They don't know when they get in the car, are they going to the doctor, are they going to school, are they in the car for 10 hours, especially if at 2 years old and 4 years old. They're immensely adaptable. Not once did they ask, could they go outside, or why were they not going outside? When we did eventually bring them outside, my 4-year-old son, like, the park was all overgrown. There was loads of butterflies. This is just a few days ago. And he just said to me, Mommy, nature is beautiful. Beautiful. Aww. So, yeah, that's been a challenge. And then, you know, I run a business, and my husband ran a business, travel, had a number of Airbnbs, which got wiped out overnight. Right. Yeah, so that's been a challenge. We've taken it on the chin, but then on top of that, because we now have 2 children at home, I'm now running the business on 3 days a week. So it's like, wow, so many things to juggle. You know, but there's been a lot of good that's come of it as well, because I've been saying for a long time, I want to travel less. I want to run more stuff virtually. I want to increase my online game. I want to be with my children more. No, I didn't expect it to come.
You caused this, you great creator. You're wishing has created this. Now, you work with large corporates, and like you said, you usually you're training, you're traveling. So is that what you've done? You've pivoted to working more online?
Yeah. Very, very fast adaptation, let's say. I already had some online programs, and I'd had a membership and stuff for corporates before. But then suddenly we had things in the diary that people were flying in from all over the world for that immediately couldn't happen. And we moved to online and using, you know, a combination of Zoom and Mural. Mural is fantastic, like brainstorming, collaborative piece of technology. You know, it's actually worked tremendously well. And you know what? My insight on why, I'm a massive advocate for face-to-face, but when you like break out into small groups to do exercises face-to-face, inevitably people go for a pee, someone calls their mom, someone like makes a cup of tea, they go look for a flip chart. There's like loads of minutes that disappear and are burned. And because of the technology, you can press a button, they're in a breakout room, press a button and they're back. I'm like saving hours. So it's been impressively effective.
I think it's going to be really interesting when we do go back to normal, whatever that is, which methodologies we continue to adopt, because I think, and I've been saying this inside of our community, is our capacity is expanding because it has to. And it's like when you stretch anything out, it never goes back to its original state. So we are going to be expanded, you know, but in our thinking, in our ability to take risk, in our ability to handle adversity, so many things. So, Lisa, she wants to know a little more about Mural. Would you tell us a little bit about Mural?
Sure, no problem. And so if you imagine it, it's kind of like an electronic whiteboard or a massive flip chart. But the great thing about it is you can set up templates in advance. And so what we do, we have like a slide deck to navigate people through a workshop. And then with Mural, we might give someone an exercise, or the whole group an exercise. We'll put them into small broken out rooms, digital rooms, And then they all go to the mural board, and you can use Post-its, you can put slides in there, you can draw, you can write, but everyone can see it happening live. So it is very collaborative. And then whenever we do like a share back, then I just share my screen and go to that group's mural, and everyone can see it. And yeah, it's brilliant. And you can we set up like day 1, day 2, day 3 have their own kind of boards, as it were, and you can hide the activities and the exercises as well, so that actually, and you just open them when you need them.
When you need to. That's really interesting, because we're having to move. We have a marketing mastermind, a little like the mastermind that you and I met at, and we're taking it online. We usually do these 2-day events, and we are going to be doing breakout rooms, but I'm going to have a look at this tool and see if it might be good for some of those collaborative things where they might usually have a flip chart and they're all working on it, or they're doing something like that. So thank you, and thanks for the question. Yeah, Liz says that's brilliant. If you've just joined us, welcome to Women, Words and Wine. I'm here with Jodie Rogers, who's joining me from Spain, I should say, and we are, she's having a cup of coffee. I'm having a glass of Chardonnay. Tonight I'm drinking a Moores Hill Tasmanian Chardonnay, and I'd love to say I love it, but I don't. I think I should have had a red wine tonight. And I've just opened the door because it's a little bit warm in here, and some little buzzard has flown in. So if you see me doing this, it's just that I'm trying to shoo away this thing that's flown in the door. So I'd love to know, if you're watching us, what are you drinking? I don't think anyone's having an Irish coffee. PJ said Irish coffee, but he's a big liar. He's not having an Irish coffee at all. I know he's having some red wine. So do let us know what you're having to drink. We're going to be sharing with you a couple of things that have made us laugh or made us question things over the last week. And thank you. I now have red wine. Okay, here we go.
Brilliant.
Right, I'll switch that out. How good is my service here? I love it. Very good. Felicity's having a G&T. Good on you, Felicity. All right. So up on the screen, you won't be able to see this because of the tech issue that you're having, but I'm going to put up a couple of things that you chose that you wanted to share with us here today. And so what I'm putting up on screen now is a picture, if I can find it. Okay, where is it? I think I've done the wrong one. This one is of a guy, and he's holding up a sign. It's actually the second image in the document that you and I are looking at. So tell us about that. What is that?
Yeah, I just thought this was great. And I don't know who this guy is. It's from a page, Philemon, I think it's called. But he's just been making little posters on cardboard boxes. But what he's saying, I think, is spot on. It's exactly how I feel about things. Like, stop posting your old travel pics from years ago. Stop posting your Zoom screenshots. And stop posting pictures of your at-home workouts. Because, I've been guilty of it. And we are bombarded by just the same stuff. And just like, on LinkedIn, everybody and his horse were posting how to work from home remotely. And it's like, all right.
Right, yes, let's jam the SEO. Everyone's got their selection. Very, very good. Yeah, this one here is saying stop posting your Zoom screenshots. I actually have a Zoom screenshot I'm going to be sharing in a moment, but that's another story. I'm going to put up this one here, which has words. It starts with, anyone else go into lockdown? I'll read it out here because I know you can't see it there, Jodie. Anyone else go into lockdown thinking, brilliant, my house will be immaculate, my kids will be mini geniuses with all the homeschooling. I'm going to get slim and make healthy meals Jamie Oliver would be proud of. And it says 5 weeks later, my house is a slum. My kids have probably forgotten how to spell their own names. I'm even fatter with an alcohol problem, and chicken dippers and chips seem to be the menu of the day every day. Just me? Did it feel like that for you? Did it all go a little out the window?
Oh, I really felt like that. The first week we had a schedule, and we were going to do this with the kids from 9 to 10, and then 10 to 11 this, and then blah, blah, and we were making salads and guacamole and all this amusing stuff. And then we just burnt out, is the truth. And we also realized that we were putting way too much pressure on ourselves to be teachers, to be, innovating new online courses for the business, to be, chefs, to be all of these things. It just got a bit ridiculous, and then I thought, why? Yes, I should be active in lockdown, if, especially if you can't exercise outdoors. But, my goal is just to get out of this alive and happy. My goal is not to come out of this as supermodel, chef, teacher, so lowering expectations has really helped me a lot.
I love that. Sorry, I just saw someone, I think it's just a spammer, just put some weird comments saying, I love you. So I've just blocked them. I love to be loved, but, I don't know you. So you are gone. Oh, and he's back. Someone blocked that person. All right. Yesterday, my assistant put a note in my diary. Are you available on June 26th to record the next few episodes of your podcast? And I looked at it, and I looked at my calendar, and I wrote back to her and I said, actually, I've got a Broadway show that night in New York City. So no, I can't make it. And then I went, oh, that's right. Then I go nowhere. Yes, I can make the podcast. And so for me, this one here is really pertinent. And it says, can't wait to walk down the aisle someday and hear those magical words. This is your captain speaking.
Well, I can really relate to that, Susie, because that's the problem with uncertainty, isn't it? We don't really know what's going to happen, and with recession, and how does that impact airlines, and then what does it do to the cost of travel, and how does that impact everything? It's such an uncertainty. And my whole business, I live in Spain, but none of my work is in Spain. My work is in London, Amsterdam, Paris, New York. I don't know if I'm going to get there again in the next 18 months. So it's crazy.
Tell me, actually, why do you live in Spain?
Yeah, good question. Right now, I'm asking myself that question. But the original,
it's beautiful, and I can understand why.
Yeah, I've lived around. I've lived in Australia. I've lived in Brazil. I'm obviously Irish. Lived in London, and I fell in love with a Canadian. I still am in love with the Canadians. So that's good.
That's good.
We lived in Jasper in Alberta for a year, but I was spending a lot of time on transatlantic flights coming back over to the UK and to Europe, basically, where most of the corporates I work with, where their head offices are. And we just sat down and I said, look, I can't do this. And he was like, I'm not going to London. I live in the Rocky Mountains, and I'm not going to Ireland either. And I was like, okay, but can we at least go to Europe? And he said, okay, but only if we go somewhere sunny and cheap. And it turned out that actually I've always wanted to live in Spain, because I love South America, but it's too far and economically and politically unstable. And Spain is that kind of sweet spot in between, really. So yeah, we moved here 5 years ago.
Oh, I love it. I was there probably, sometime in the last 10 years, but I definitely want to get back. If you could travel, if you're watching, if you could travel anywhere right now, where would you go? Go ahead and tell us in comments, where would you travel to? Qantas just sent out a note. Qantas is our main carrier. I sent out a note yesterday to say all flights through to the end of July have now been cancelled. So every month they're kind of giving us another month of, okay, all flights through July. So the hopes of going anywhere other than possibly New Zealand in the next few months are very, very slim. Liz says, go the Canadians. I'm also married to one. Yeah. So if I could travel anywhere right now, I would probably go to New York. That would be my first thing. The second would be to go to Greece, where I had actually planned to go this Northern Hemisphere summer to visit my dad's village and see his siblings and my cousins and be there with him. And I just love him. He's still holding on to that. Maybe flights are going to open up so that he can go to Europe this year, and I actually don't think it's going to happen, but I don't know, because here in Australia the restrictions are just being lifted slightly, but whether we'll actually be able to travel, and then which countries are going to be open for us, and will we need a vaccine, and so many, like you said, unanswered questions. Someone here wants to go to Cinque Terre. I love Italy. Tahiti, I'm supposed to go there a few weeks ago, so itching to get there. Amazon. Oh wow. Lynn. Oh, I love the diversity of these locations. Fantastic. Here is another one that I chose. Now, a couple of weeks ago, here on the show, I shared New Zealand Police Force. They do this mock Zoom meeting. I don't know if you've seen it, but they are hilarious. So, like, they almost have like every possible character: the person with the kid on their lap, the person who's wanting to use all the different backgrounds, the person who doesn't know how to unmute themselves, you know, the person who goes to the bathroom with the camera on. You know, it has all the characters. And this one here is a picture of a few dogs logging into their meetings, and it's just like that. It's like someone who's like way too close, or someone who doesn't actually quite know how to use the camera, or the person who's just totally like beyond themselves. I thought that was very, very cute. Very, very cute. And oh, that's your mate there again. And then I had this one. Now, this is a guy called the Marketoonist. So about once a month, he puts out a cartoon. And this one here is for all of you who are cynics out there who have heard the same lines over and over again. This is a whiteboard, and on it, it has in different sort of blocks. In these uncertain and unprecedented times, nothing is more important than people. We are here for you now more than ever. But it's got them in that way where you could actually change the words around. And so it says to the right, now all we need is some somber piano music and B-roll with empty streets, and we'll be ready to advertise whatever brand this is for. And that's unfortunately been, it's very, very good. That's unfortunately been how a lot of people have been communicating to their clients. And we have a member whose business is in the outdoor. She does stuff outdoors and is in the sort of the wellness industry, and she has had to be writing to her clients. And so one of the things that we've been coaching her on is to really use her voice, her values, why we're making these changes, why we're wanting to keep you safe, why we're postponing, etc., and really imbuing her communication with who she really is, rather than picking up this language that like every second email that we're getting is using. And I think that's so, so important. The other one that I don't have an image for here, and I can see there's a bunch of comments. I'll get those. Someone, one of our team, we have our team meetings every Wednesday morning. She was saying that she saw this one on the internet, and it said, before COVID, someone shows up to your door with a mask and gloves, and you call the police. Now someone shows up to your door with a mask and gloves, and you go, oh, it's Uber Eats. It must be dinner time. Which I thought was very, very cute. Do you have Uber Eats? They're probably not delivering. Are you getting food deliveries? That's probably not happening in Spain.
Yeah, no, there are food deliveries. We've decided not to get them just because if we are under extreme lockdown and we're having to do all of these extreme measures, why would we then, compromise things? But it's not just that. Actually, we've kind of got into cooking because we used to do a lot of delivery and a lot of eating out and stuff. So we're just kind of, doubling down on that until we get bored. But we have Deliveroo as well, which I think you guys have, and Just Eats, and yeah.
Yeah, great. So we're getting a few different locations. Fiji, Jodie wants to go for her son's wedding. Kylie wants to go to Kythera in Greece, which is where her mum's family is from, and she's asked where my dad is from. My dad is from a village called Kimi, Kimi, which is on the island of Evia in central Greece. Anna says, I'm just happy to drive up to Marlborough to see my parents. Yeah, smiley. Yeah. And Jen Bishop says, anywhere, frankly. And Jen's a Pom. She's moved to Australia, married an Aussie. He's got a couple of kids, and probably not rushing back to the UK right now anyway. Oh, but Sharon wants to go back to the UK for a big holiday and then a quick trip to Prague and Scotland, as was planned last month. We're so excited. We was so excited to be going to Prague, and you will in good time. Yeah. All righty. Okay, I'm going to turn over to you because what I love to do with Women Words of Wine is turn over to my guests for them to share their expertise and their brilliance. They're always business women who are doing exciting things. And so hand over to you. I know you've got a couple of images. Let me know when you want them up. Off you go.
Great. Thanks, Susie. There's so many things that I could really talk about now, but I think one of the most important things is, certainly within my business, what we've always done is worked with leaders and teams and helping them kind of maximize performance and overcome their obstacles. And obstacles rarely tend to be poor strategies or poor business plans. It always tends to be mindset. Now, what's become really, really relevant suddenly is the work that we also do on the inner game, or mental fitness, as we like to call it. And why is that suddenly important? You know, we do a lot of you'll have heard of mental health, of course, and you know, depression, anxiety, and all of these things, but that's very much focused on when someone already is experiencing something uncomfortable, or that's not helpful, and that's when we start to look at a cure. But just like we have from our physical health point of view, just like we don't wait to be sick before we exercise and take vitamins. The whole point in exercising, eating well, taking vitamins is a preventative approach. We need the exact same thing for our minds, which is where the whole philosophy of mental fitness comes from. And actually, that's what I've spent, you know, breakneck speed, creating and getting out their mental fitness program for some of our corporates. Now, as part of kind of, there's had to be an education job for some of the leaders to really help them understand why this is so important. Because let's face it, you know, right now we're in a buzzword city, unprecedented, uncertain, uncontrollable situation. But the reality is that we are all having to work differently and work without any full understanding of what's going to happen and when this might end. Now, because of this sustained uncertainty, we are we're heading into potentially a mental health crisis as well as a recession. So everything and anything you can do today for yourself and for your team to take a preventative approach to that is really important. Now, because we've had our finger in the pulse working with teams, and we're seeing that there's actually been friction and tension coming up between people for different reasons, partly to do with the context. Maybe you're, you know, like I've been working from home with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old banging at the door and screaming and crying to get in while running a webinar with thousands of people. Very stress-inducing. But the challenge is that people are having different experiences, and what I've been using to help people navigate their experience is the change curve. If you could bring up the change curve now, Suzi, that'd be great. Now, most of you will. I'll just talk through it. Most of you will recognize this. It's used in innovation. It's also the foundations of the 5 stages of grief. Now, what's really interesting about the change curve is, well, a number of things. First of all, I have found it very helpful just to be able to see where I am on the change curve, and also where my team are and where my clients are as well. So if you consider the first stage is shock, then we quickly move in denial. Oh, it's not going to be that bad. It's just like the flu. It's not going to get to this country, whatever. And then suddenly things happen, like the schools close and you're told you have to work from home, and then clients start canceling things, and you realize this is real and governments are making decisions, and maybe you get frustrated. Maybe you're frustrated with the decisions in the government. And then we move into the lowest half part of the change curve, which here is called depression, but we don't mean clinical depression. It's just the lowest energy part. This is where the burden and the realization of everything that's happening is suddenly come to your awareness. Now, then we will find ourselves moving into a place where we're, you know, adapting, and we're starting to experiment. And maybe that looked, first of all, like having your laptop balanced on 3 books, or you've got set up a makeshift table in the kitchen. And then hopefully at some point you will have moved into this more, okay, we're in this for the long game. You know, it's not about knuckling down for 2 weeks. How I'm going to empty that room that's full of boxes and I'm going to turn it into a proper office. I'm going to start to embrace technology in a new and different way. Now, there's 2 things that are really interesting about the change curve. Well, I think they're very important to know. And one is it's not linear. So you can move through this, you can get into the experimental phase, and then something happens and you sweep back into the depressive stage. But beyond that as well, everyone has their own experience and at different times. So you could be working with team members where, maybe you're in the integration phase and you're innovating, coming up with new ideas, and they're still in the frustration phase. Now, you might see that as resistance, or a personality clash, or they don't understand what I'm trying to do. But if you have a change curve, then it becomes something that you can have a different conversation about. Identify where you are, identify where they are, talk about that, acknowledge it, and then you understand the behavior and why there might be some tension. So yeah, I've just got off a webinar. I had a couple of hundred people on for one of the corporates we work with. And the biggest point that I wanted to share with them was, what every business leader in the world right now has two clear objectives. One is the health of their people, and the other is profit and productivity. And that they're paradoxical to some degree, right? So it's a real balance trying to get that right, because, even myself, we're trying to get this like mental fitness program filmed and edited and all the support and stuff. And we've got to get it out, and we've got to get it out quickly because it matters now. It's not going to matter when people are out of lockdown.
Right.
And, the irony was not lost in me, because we're working nights. We're working like, oh my God, we're all going to have a mental breakdown working on a mental fitness course. This is not right. But it is like, it's about knowing that that's short, fine. When we're working at that pace, and I'm speaking to all of the people that are listening to me as individuals as well, because you are working at that pace. I know that you're pushing yourself to innovate, to pivot, to come up with new courses. Maybe a revenue stream went down, you need to create a new revenue stream. But be gentle with yourself, and give yourself space and give yourself grace, that you are going to be feeling anxiety, you're going to feel panic, you're going to feel fear. And I'm not saying any of these things to raise fear. Actually, it's to normalize the feelings, because we shouldn't be amazing right now. We should be having blips or even bigger impact on our emotions, and it's okay to not be okay. It doesn't mean you're not coping, and it doesn't mean that this is the way life is now. We're just in a very unusual situation, and feeling anxiety, uncertainty, and fear is actually a very human response to that situation. But it is important for us not to wallow in those feelings either. And by that, I mean, the overconsumption of the media, looking at the data every day, and panicking and, fear-mongering and catastrophizing, because that's not going to be helpful either. So we owe it to ourselves to self-regulate, to check into our emotions, to make a connection between massive consumption of the news and our anxiety levels, and make adjustments, and maybe don't watch the news, or only watch it for 10 minutes every day. And this I personally find it very useful, and since I started,
I love it. I love it. I was just looking at some of the responses here where people are saying they're between the third and the second, someone who's in decision, someone who's in integration. And I realized that, whether we're dealing with our team or whether we're dealing with customers, just being able to recognize where people are at is so important. It makes us much better leaders. I have had sort of low-level anxiety for weeks, and it wasn't until you mentioned it that I realized this is probably the first week where I'm not feeling that at all. I feel really together. I feel really on top of it. And part of that came from making some decisions and actually acting on them and making those decisions. And in our case, it was things like, having staff work from home. And then it was, okay, we've got these live events coming up that we need to postpone. One we've postponed till next year, and thinking, oh my gosh, the bottom's going to fall out of everything because we're making these changes. And that didn't happen at all, because we're all kind of in the same boat, and people are like, yes, great. That's great. I'm glad. I'm so keen to come. I'm glad that you've put it down the line, because right now, obviously, we can't do it. And so this has been the first week because I feel like I'm walking back on solid ground. And so I've transitioned through this. And I think I was definitely in denial in the beginning. It's nothing. It's just the media. The media always does this, you know. And then I had a friend whose husband was in ICU for days and days and days, you know, and he's gone back again last week. And I'm like, okay, this is not a joke. And I need to keep my mental space in a really, you know, in a really good place. So I'm just going to look at some of these comments here. Anna says, I've stopped watching the news. It has helped me get a better outlook on where we're at. Yeah, very, very good. Now you have one more diagram here. Do you want me to pop that up?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great. I just want to pick up on what you were saying there. Though, like, it's great to tune into what you're feeling and experiencing. And like I said, acknowledge that it's okay to feel anxious, but taking action will really make a difference. Because in a moment where we feel so like massive decisions are being made that are out of our control, whatever we can do to exercise control, i.e. make decisions, take action, will go a long way for creating more psychological safety and feeling like we're making some sort of progress, even if that means, you know, canceling an event or postponing it. You wouldn't think that feels like progress, but to the brain, it feels like progress, and that's what's important.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So the other, this is a Yerk Dodson model, which you may or may not be familiar with, and you know, I was using this today in one of the webinars because I've had a lot of senior leaders saying, yeah, I know people are saying productivity is going to be challenged and, you know, we should expect less from our people, but our people are thriving and they're fully productive and blah, blah, blah. And well, that's a brilliant argument. I would love to see the percentages and how many people are thriving, because working from home is one thing. Working from home when you can't get out to exercise, or when you have children at home, or when you're fighting with your husband about whose job is more important and who deserves to take that meeting. And it's a very different level of stress. And so there, you will have heard of the topic of being in flow. You've probably heard that terminology.
Yes.
Yeah, but what you may not have heard is frazzle. And frazzle is actually, believe it or not, a neurological term. And that's for when you actually go up, you cross that line from flow where you've been engaged and you've been productive. And you'll see this in a normal day. Maybe you've worked 8 hours a day and you think you're in flow, so you keep working, or you've got a crazy deadline, you keep working until 10 o'clock at night. What you haven't recognized is the quality of your thinking is diminished. The quality of your decision making is compromised, and your productivity is absolutely questionable. And this is because we've moved into frazzle. And frazzle on the brain, if you look at neuroscans, it's just like, you know, it's like it's on fire. All these different parts of the brain, are the neural synapses are lit up, because the brain is just all over the place. It doesn't know where to focus, and the point that I was making to senior leaders is just, that's brilliant. People are being productive, but I would love to know. You can take the chart down now, Suzi. I would love to know what's driving that productivity, because it could very well be fear. It could be fear for their job. You're seeing their
friends, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and it's a word of warning to all of us who are running businesses, who are trying to balance today, trying to plan for the future with very little information. It's very easy for us to get frazzled too, and we just need to pay attention to that. Look after our mental health. It's never been more important, more buzzwords, to
in these unprecedented times.
But it's true. That's why they're buzzwords, right? Because it's so bloody true. Everyone's saying the same thing. That we need to eat well, we need to exercise, we need to switch off. Here's the truth. There will always be more work to do. There will always be more emails to write. There will always be new product ideas. You have to set your limits. No one else will save you from yourself. You have to set your limits. You have to create that space to switch off. Because if you're I work with young entrepreneurs as well, and they just think that they've got to work like 97 days straight in order to be successful. Actually, the time you spend off not thinking about your business, doing something else, you're giving your subconscious a chance to come up with creative ideas. You will work much more effectively it's like, if you never turn your laptop off, what happens? It slows down, and then crashes. That's the same thing that's going to happen to you. Your off days are sacred. They make your on days better. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. This is advice for the ages. This isn't just, what we're going through right now. There's a couple of comments here I want to share. This one here is from Jennifer Lim. She says, I'm feeling a lot better lately, thanks mainly to her business. Whoop, whoop. She says, more than ever. Oh, I need glasses. She says, feels good to be with other businesswomen who are continuing to work it out as bravely as possible amid rapid change. And Stella's letting us know that she put the bins out. That's good. Taking action. And Susan says it's an honourable task, Stella. I agree. And Amanda's saying she's back to school on Monday, yeah. So some of the schools are now having kids go back 1-2 days a week. So she said, my productivity is about to soar. And Liz says, there is no white knight. Rescue yourself. And Mickey says, hey, Mickey, happy birthday for earlier this week. It's okay to stop and take a breath. Yes. Mm-hmm. And Yvonne says, your off days are sacred. Yeah, I reckon it took me 20 years to learn this lesson. And sometimes I still do it. I think, oh, you know what? I'll catch up on the weekend, on work, that is. And then I get to the weekend and I feel resentful. I don't want to do it. And then I don't do it. And so I've started to train myself to go, you know what? And I had this happen to me just the other day. I just gave myself a break for long enough for this brilliant idea to come in that I know would not have come in if I was just pushing, trying to get the next thing done.
Exactly.
What's Mary saying? Trying to delegate to a teenager to take the bins out. Good luck with that. Yeah. Good luck with that, Mary. Well, thank you. I love those tips. Love those charts.
Can I give you one other tip?
Yeah, please.
For your team, for your family, for anyone who you connect with, if you take 2 minutes up front before you run a meeting, a workshop, whatever it is, with your clients, I do this with my clients, just ask people where they are on a scale of 0 to 10. That's all the information you need. I ran a workshop for the senior leadership team a couple of days ago for 3 days. We only did 4 hours each day because it's too much otherwise. Yes. We opened and closed with 0 to 10. The first day, we had 4 people scoring 4. We had 2 people at 5, we had 3 people at 6, and we had like 1 or 2 people at 7. That immediately gives you so much information for where people are at, how much you can expect for them, how to read their behaviour later, and doing it again at the end. Thankfully, their scores had all.
It'd be a worry if they were down.
I know, but it's really good. It's really quick and easy way of checking in with people.
I really like that. That's something you could do with your kids, if they're old enough to kind of get that idea. Yeah. So for me, on the practical side of things, today I led, at the beginning of every month, we hold something that we called a roundtable, and it is an online meeting where we do a little bit of networking, we do a little bit of training, we do a little collaboration and brainstorming. And for people in Australia, and this may not pertain to those of you who are watching who are from other parts of the world, but because the restrictions are starting to be lifted, it feels like we can finally stop just treading water and we can actually make some solid plans. We're good planners at Her Business, and our members, spend time planning in November for the following year. And many of us had these great calendars with Post-it notes and highlighters and all the things we were going to do. And then it all just went right. And so, but I feel like now is a great time to make some new plans. And what you want to do is start thinking about what you want your business to look like 3 months, 6 months from now, and start to put in place some of those plans, because you don't want to wait till someone says we're back to normal before you start planning, because then it's going to be like you're late off the blocks, right? Mm-hmm. And so now, perhaps your piano teaching school had to close down and you started to pivot online. What are you going to do next? Or perhaps your online store that you created just because of COVID is now starting to take off. What are you going to do next? as I said earlier, I think our capacity has increased. I think we're going to be stronger as a result of this. But I do feel like we need to have a plan. And even those of you who say, I'm not a planner, Suzi, I get it. I was not a planner either. But better to have an idea of where you're heading, because it allows you to corral your attention, your focus to something that's going to move you towards what you want. Otherwise, it can be very easy for your attention units, for all your energy to get sucked into bright, shiny objects and not on those things that are really going to make a difference to your business. So those of you who were there today when we did our roundtable, you obviously have that piece of training. If you're a Her Business Network member and you weren't there today, go ahead and check in your library because the details will be there. And if you're neither of those things, here's what I want you to think about is, what do you want next from your business? How can you start to make the first steps? Whether it's, I'm going to start doing something different. I'm going to talk about experimentation a little later on. But now is the time to start planning. Oh, and Mickey says, OMG, Mans and I are planning on our Her Business calendar today. Great. You must have had a spare. So when the other one went out the window, you could use that. And Mickey's saying 0 to 10 scale, best ever tool. Awesome. Yeah, I agree. So that's my little bit of practical skills. Start making a plan. And it doesn't have to be complex. This isn't a business plan because you're going to get funding from the bank. This is saying, this is what I want. This is when I want it. Here's what I'm going to do. Here are the actions I'm going to take to make it happen, and really mapping out those actions so that every day, you know, I'm doing a little bit something towards that new online course, that new person that I'm going to hire, that new system that I'm going to develop, that new budget that I'm going to have for the new financial year, whatever that is for you. All righty. Anything you want to add to that before I move on?
No, I think you've got it covered.
All right. So we like to wrap up the show with a little bit of inspiration, and I will kick us off. So I mentioned experimentation before, and I've had a few conversations. I was telling Jodie before we got started that I've had a few conversations about failure over the last week. And these are women who I've been speaking to who have said to me, I'm just scared that this is going to fail. And my response was, I am scared every single day that what I'm doing is going to fail. And one woman said, no way. She said, I don't believe you. I went, absolutely. Every single time I try something new, I reach a little higher, I try something different, I am totally scared that I'm going to fail. And so, but that should not stop you from doing it. I really want you to surround yourself with people who will be there for you, whether it works or it doesn't work. And so you really want to have those champions around you, whether it's a peer support group, whether it's a mother's club, whether it's your Her Business Network members, whatever it is. I want you to feel that you can experiment. Mm-hmm. If you think of these new things as an experiment, maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not going to work. Maybe I'm going to take my yoga classes that used to be in person, I'm going to put them online. Maybe it'll be a total flop. I'm going to try this new lead magnet and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. But it doesn't mean anything about you. We're talking about mental well-being earlier. It doesn't mean anything about you. You're experimenting, and you want to be able to do that in an environment where you have people saying, good for you. You had a go. You tried that. It worked or it didn't work. There was a man named Buckminster Fuller. He died probably over 20 years ago now. He was an inventor, American inventor. He invented the geodesic dome. He created systems that could help humanity forever. His work is still being acknowledged around the world. And he said this. He said, you can never learn less. You can only learn more, right? And it's so true. You cannot learn less. And so whatever you're doing, if you brand it as an experiment, I'm just going to try this out. It doesn't mean anything about me. It doesn't mean I'm not worthy. It doesn't mean that I'm a failure. It means I tried something and it either worked or it didn't work. But this is a great time to be experimenting with that new idea. That's my little bit of inspiration. What have you got for us, Jodie?
You know, I'd just like to actually respond to what you've just said. I think that is brilliant because it's a cognitive reframe. I don't use the word fail or failure. It's not in my vernacular, and I would encourage people to just drop it. If you do what Suzi has suggested, you're going to experiment and you're going to get data and you're going to learn from that. Then it totally changes your mindset and your approach. To use an analogy of a child, a baby trying to walk. Are you trying to learn to walk by being afraid of falling? Or are you trying to learn to walk by going like for your goal, walking towards your mum? You know, there's completely different behaviors and a different impact on what you will do and how you'll show up, right? So do you have your eye on the prize, or do you have your eye on your ground? Because wherever your eye is, that's where you're going. So I love that idea. I love that thought, because it's so important. All we're doing now is experimenting and learning from those experiments. So failure, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't exist unless you're dead. Once you're dead, that's it. No second chances. But you have as long as you have more chances, you're going to be fine. The only thing I would add is, like, going full circle back to something I said earlier. It's so easy for us to see what's missing, what's lost, what we don't have, what we can't do. And, you know, neurologically, that happens because of a negativity bias. We are programmed to pay more attention to the negative things in life than the positive things in life, because the negative things in life are what kill us. They're the threats. So we need to override that. And we override that evolutionary response by making an effort to focus on what we do have, what we can do, and what opportunity there is. Now, it doesn't matter your point of view and things. Some people are really into gratitude. Some people think it's spiritual hoo-ha. But actually, from as simple as having the 3 things that you're grateful for at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, it includes neural pathways in your brain that will presuppose you for the positive, that will help you self-soothe, and help you emotionally regulate, etc. So it's so important that, as I said, you know, this has been a massive challenge for myself, for my family. There's other contexts going on that I won't go into that makes it even more complicated. I could get lost in that story and I could easily become a victim. But if I make the effort to see, what do I now have that I didn't have before? I am with my children every day, and that is challenging, but it's also awesome. I am not traveling, and I said I didn't want to travel. I'm encouraged to do what I always said I wanted to do, which was create this course and get it out there. And it was out there within 12 days. You know, it's remarkable.
Wow.
So I encourage you, don't just see what you don't have and can't have. Look at what you do have and the possibilities that that exist, because that will change your whole experience of this event.
You're a gorgeous human, Jodie Rogers. I'm so grateful for having you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been awesome. I'm sorry it was a little early to have a glass of wine. You'll have to you'll have to make up for it later. If you're here and you're watching and there's something you're taking away from today, please go ahead and put it in comments. I'd love to know how useful this has been for you, or what you heard today that you've really enjoyed. And Kylie's saying glass half full. Yeah, that's exactly kind of, you know, a bit of a pun, given this is Women, Words and Wine. But yeah, we are looking at the glass half full. Thank you, Jodie. Brilliant insights, says Liz. Great. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We'll be back next week for Women, Words and Wine. Same bat time, same bat channel. Enjoy the rest of your evening wherever you are. Mwah. Jodie, thank you so much again. Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure.